Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus. This is our Week 2 college football player prop show. I'm Mike Calabrese, joined by Dan Gaspar and Duck. If you're looking for loose markets where books historically hang favorable numbers for the public, you've come to the right place. In this episode, we're going to run through 9 plays, 3 from each of us, rapid fire style. So if you have 10 minutes, you have time to cash winners in the college football player prop market. And a quick note before we start on quick slip links. If this is the first time you've heard of this, please listen closely. We know these players might be a little bit less familiar, maybe not quite on the radar for you, or they can be tricky to find out in the market. So if you look in the episode description of this video, there's going to be a link that you can click that'll take you to a page with all of your picks and links instantly populated all in one spot right in your bet slip. So we're making it as easy as possible for you to tail these bets. Let us help you in this situation. All right, we're going to hop right into it. As I mentioned, we had 9 picks, 3 from each of us. Let's start with the battle for the Cy Hawk Trophy. Dan and Josh both have plays from this game. Dan, Rocco is coming off a big game, albeit against South Dakota. He lit them up through the skies, but you're not buying it. How are you fading the Cyclones' passing attack on Saturday?
Yeah, and it's nothing against Rocco. Rocco's great, right? It's more just I think overall play volume in this game is going to be rough. Iowa plays at an extremely slow pace. Iowa State doesn't push it. Iowa averaged just over 58 plays offensively per game last season. It's going to be a low play volume game. And the other thing against it is Iowa State's receiving rotation goes pretty deep. So they got 6 guys they'll run out there, and it's not six in and of itself is not a deep number, but they rotate a lot. They rotate heavily. It's not a top 3, bottom 3. These are our 6 guys, and we're throwing them out there. So because of that, I got Brett Eskelson lower than 37.5 receiving yards. Again, just a play volume thing. I don't think he's going to be out there enough for the opportunity.
All right, Duck. Sometimes this game, this rivalry in particular, people can throw some dirt on it. They call it El Asico. There's just not a whole lot of offense back and forth. And certainly in recent years, Iowa has not been lighting up the scoreboard or finding themselves really in the top 100 in terms of offensive production. But last year, that changed a little bit. So walk me through what you think with Mark Gronowski here, because they didn't use him nearly at all against Albany, threw for, I believe, 44 passing yards. That's obviously depressed his market in terms of passing yards. Walk me through the numbers that you're seeing and where your cutoff would be.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little value here because they didn't throw the football against Albany. They didn't have to. They chose to keep it close to the vest and not reveal any of their added dynamic approach to their offense with Gronowski. Current number at FanDuel is over 136.5 passing yards, 136.5. You look at the Iowa State secondary, they can be passed on. We saw it with Kansas State, and I think that this Iowa team is going to throw a few punches in this rivalry game. Just because they didn't deploy the passing attack against Albany doesn't mean that they're unable to do it. I think we'll see Gronowski shine in this spot. I think there's a chance that they could be playing from behind, and we're going to need to matriculate the ball down the field. This number is just way, way too low, in my opinion. You get one explosive play, and you could be halfway there, and it just doesn't take much to get over 136.5. Even in a lower scoring game, he'll surpass this passing total. I'd go up to 148 here.
We didn't necessarily plan this, but this seems like the rivalry portion of the episode. I'm going to go to the border war. They tried to tamp this down, call it the border showdown. The border, you say tomato, I say tomato. It's the border war between Mizzou and Kansas. And Jalen Daniels, the KU quarterback, he's healthy. That means I'm going over his 27.5 rushing yards. 2 things I care about with this play: his health, and then Corey Batoon's play calling on the defensive side of things for Mizzou. Last season, he faced a handful of dual threat quarterbacks out of the SEC. And whether it was Diego Pavia, Jalen Milroe, Lenora Sellers, Taylor Green, even Jackson Arnold behind a really leaky offensive line for Oklahoma, they all cleared this number easily. So it's pretty clear schematically that he doesn't have that kind of mush rush defensive ends just play contain, or behind them identifying multiple players to spy. He's willing to take the risks. And when it comes to Jalen Daniels, he's one of the slipperiest quarterbacks in college football. If you miss with a pass rusher or a blitzer, you could give up a 15 or 20-yard rushing play right there. And as an added bonus, if teams do gamble against him, he just doesn't take that many sacks. In the last, let's see, 10 starts, he's only had more than one sack go against him once. So in terms of avoiding that negative, which is a big difference between the NFL market, in college, those sack yardage count against your rushing total. So having that in play is something to keep in mind whenever you're looking at rushing totals for QBs. The fact that he has sack avoidance on the menu as well, I love it. I'd play this up to 35.5. All right, a quick ad read for Action Pro. If you're here, you're probably already interested in betting on college football player props, and the studs who are a part of our Action Network predictive analytics team have created projections for college football player props across the board. But you'll only get access to these prop projections in the app as an Action Network Pro subscriber. And right now, if you sign up with code BBOC20, you'll get $20 off an annual subscription. On to an old Southwest Conference rivalry between SMU and Baylor. We have two plays on this game. Dan, who do you have teed up first?
Yeah, Ymir Knight, lower than 54.5 is the play here. So Jordan Hudson went down in week 1. He only played a single snap. His status is still up in the air. Probably not going to get anything on that until Friday or so. But even when Hudson only played one snap in week 1, Ymir Knight was still wide receiver 3 for them. He was only on the field for 50% of Kevin Jennings' dropbacks. He did see some targets. He had 5 targets, but he finished with 3 receptions for a -1 receiving line. Low ADOT overall, not on the field a whole lot. That all screams under to me. So I do like the lower 54.5 receiving yards on Ymir Knight.
I'm going to go on the other side of this matchup. Baylor's Cole Wilson. I'll go over his 50.5 receiving yards. He comes over from Texas State, where he's sparingly used at time as a deep wide receiver core. Now he steps into that starting slot receiver role, which can be fantasy gold in this Baylor offense now that he has chemistry right out of the chute with Sawyer Robertson. 12 targets against Auburn translated into 8 receptions and 134 yards. And despite facing a lowly FCS team, SMU allowed 2 East Texas A&M wide receivers to clear this total. So I'm confident that Wilson gets upwards of 10 targets in this game. He'll have every opportunity to go over 50.5. My numbers call for this to be closer to 60. So I think there's plenty of value in this middle range. Go over on Cole Wilson's receiving yards. Let's stick in the Lone Star State Duck. Arch Manning's career, it's over. He's washed. He's a joke. He's a meme. Everyone should bury this kid. Or is it time to buy low on Arch?
Well, I mean, I just think in this specific spot against San Jose State, they'll rebound nicely. I don't think we'll see a lot of pressure put on him, and so sack yardage should not be a factor in taking away from his rushing total. I'm looking at Arch Manning over 25.5 rushing yards. I think we'll see him dazzle. He'll play the first half, maybe a couple drives in the third quarter, but he should be able to really exploit the San Jose State defense, which is tired there on the field a lot of plays last week against Central Michigan. I think he'll pop off for 1 or 2 long runs. And so I think he'll get over this total of 25.5 rushing yards, and I don't see a lot of pressure and sacks accumulated, which will detract. That can be a problem with quarterbacks if you're taking over their rushing yards where they get sacked a couple times and then the rushing yards go backwards. But I don't think we'll see that here. So I think he'll dazzle in limited action, and Texas will rebound nicely with a big win against San Jose State over 25.5 rushing yards.
Quick reminder, if you want to find these bets quicker, use the link in the episode description. That should help you easily find and place your picks right away. All right, sticking with the Longhorns, nothing worked on Saturday against Ohio State, but San Jose State's defense is a far cry from what the Buckeyes put on the field on Saturday. Who are you targeting and why, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going Quintravian Wisner over 71.5 rushing yards. The fact that yardage, as you alluded to, is going to be a little bit easier to come by this weekend is actually why I'm worried. My only concern with this pick is because I think this is an Arch get right spot. You guys alluded to it already. So that worries me a little bit. Maybe they shade the play calling a little bit in the passing attack's favor and try to get Arch's confidence up. But when I initially made projections for this game, I had Wisner at 99 rushing yards. So there's still a lot of meat on the bone here. I tempered that back. I tempered the rush rate back a little bit, gave Arch a little bit of a bump, and I'm still well over the 71.5 yard number. So it is a number I like to go over. I will say at the time of this recording, this is at 71.5 rushing yards on FanDuel. There are some other sites where it's already been pushed up to 76.5. I do like this number probably into that 78, 79 range, but that's probably where we're stopping for me.
All right, I'm going to turn to the big matchup between Oklahoma and Michigan. Justice Haynes, longest run over 16.5 yards. OU played a quality FCS opponent in Illinois State over the weekend, and they gave up not 1 but 2 runs of 20 plus. Last year, they were one of the stingiest defenses in America in terms of limiting explosive runs, but they lost Danny Stutzman in the middle of that defense. And I think now that you have an option with, Haynes, who's incredibly explosive throughout his career. He averaged 9.9 yards per carry in the Wolverines' win in their opener over New Mexico, and he's popped a run of 16 yards or more 5 times in his career despite limited usage at Alabama. And the last piece of this is a new offensive staff, a lot more shotgun, a lot more spread looks than we saw last year. You're going to have to account for Underwood, both his legs and also the play action game. That is a far cry from when they were just lining up in 12 and 13 personnel, slamming it in, trying to, essentially run in a phone booth. There's going to be some wide open running lanes at times. So the fact that you can get this under 20 yards, I think is a gift. Haynes is one of those explosive runners that can get it for you maybe early. This could be a sweat-free win that you hit in the first half. You're not worried about overall statistical accumulation. You just need that one big run. So I'm going over 16 and a half yards on the longest run of the day for Haynes. And finally, a G5 prop. Huzzah. Thank you, Duck. If we had gone the whole episode without a G5, tip of the cap, it would have been shame on us, the Group of Five deep dive guys here. But you're going with NIU's running back. This is NIU's last ride in the MAC. Are they going to go out pounding the football, in your opinion? And does that mean a big day for Telly Johnson?
I think it does, yeah. Over 64 and a half rushing yards. Maryland's defense is not very good. We didn't see FAU exploit this with their pass happy attack last week, but they did have to, Maryland had to replace their three starting defensive linemen from last season. And then post spring, two other linemen transferred out. The linebacker core was supposed to be the strength of this team, but both of their starting linebackers from last season transferred post spring. And I think we just have a really weak front seven here for Maryland. Northern Illinois is going to run a little bit of a unique and dynamic offense. They have a new offensive coordinator who came in from the Division II ranks. And you know what? I think they want to pass the ball more, but old habits die hard. And when you get Thomas Hammock and this feisty bunch in a competitive game where they're punching above their weight class, they're going to run the football. They're going to pound the rock. We're going to get probably, I'd say, 18 to 22 touches for Telly Johnson, and I think he surpasses this total in a game that Northern Illinois is able to keep tighter than maybe people think.
Repeating this because it's so darn important, Action Network's predictive analytics team have created projections for college football player props, but you'll only get access to these prop projections in the app as an Action Pro subscriber. And right now, if you sign up with code BBOC20, you'll get $20 off an annual subscription. That's it for our week 2 college football player prop show here at the Big Bets on Campus podcast. For Dan and Duck, I'm Mike Calabrese. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, best of luck with all your bets.